gati gurumeva bhaje. Gurunaiva sahasmi namo gurave. Na guruf paramham shishurasmi guruhu. Matirasti guru mama pahi guru. Satchidanandarupaya Vishvotpatyati Hetave Tabatraya Vinashaya Sri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranadah Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravrajjantamanubedamapedakrutyam Dvaipayano Viraha Kadara Juhava Putreti tanmayataya tarahobhinedustam sarvabhuda hridayam munimanatosmi Narayanam namaskritya naranchaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayetah. Sarvebhyah namaskaraha. We are seeing Srimad Bhagavada Purana, and by the grace of Bhagavan, we are able to complete up to Canto 5 of this Mahapurana. And from today, we will see Canto 6 of this Mahapurana. In the Canto 6, there are 19 chapters, and the main theme of this canto is Poshana, that is the grace of Bhagavan. How the divine name that gives as that turns as a blessing. And Sri Shukra Brahmarshi explains this grace of Bhagavan, that is the importance of Bhagavat Nama, by explaining two incidents. One is the story of Ajamila, how a very pious Brahmana, he was so much in connection with not a very good connection. Because of that, he lost all his divinity, and how he became like an ordinary sinful person, and how the Bhagavat Nama helped him to evolve into the higher state. So that is one incident. And next is the how the divine Nama expiated the Brahmahatya dosham of Lord Indra. So with these two incidents, Sri Shukra Brahma Rishi explains the grace of Bhagavan, mostly the importance of the Bhagavat Nama. So we will see from the chapter 1 of Canto 6 of Srimad Bhagavata Purana. And what the Ajamila's episode explains is how one can safeguard himself by chanting the Bhagavat Nama, and how one can safeguard himself from other sufferings in this worldly life, as well as can escape from the Narakaloka, that is the purgatories. So one must expiate the sins in this Janma itself. We might have done some sins. So by chanting Bhagavat Nama or by the wholehearted devotion to Bhagavan, we must then and there expiate the sins of it. So that when we expiate the sins done in our lifetime, in our lifetime itself, then we can escape from going to the purgatories. There are 28 purgatories, as we have seen in the last canto, and according to the actions done, we will go to each one of the purgatories. So when we expiate the sins done in this bhumi itself, then we can escape from going to that purgatories. Maybe we have to suffer a lot in this bhumi itself, but that is much better than going to the purgatories. So it is best not to do any sin, because when we worship Bhagavan, naturally that sinful tendencies in us will be erased. So we will not have the tendency to do the papa karmas. In case if we have done papa karmas out of ignorance, it is better to worship Bhagavan, expiate the sins then and there, or otherwise we have to go to the purgatory. So that is what is explained by the story of Ajamila. Now, hearing all this, Shuka Brahmarishi tells this to Parikshit Maharaja. Now, hearing all this, Parikshit Maharaja asks Shuka Brahmarishi that, okay, if a person has done a sin, then he can expiate it by some Vedic rites or by chanting mantras or in whatever way it is possible. But again, he does the same sin. Again and again, he do the same actions and he incurs sin. So how to get rid of it? So Shuka Brahmarishi answers that Karmana karma nirharo nahyatyanti yeshyate avidbhadati khaditvat prayachittam vimarshanam. Avidya, ignorance, is the ultimate source for all our karmas. So, expiation done for one particular sin, definitely it will dissipate the negative effects incurring us. Definitely it will, for a particular act, for that particular act, that sinful reaction is dissolved. But the tendencies are there, still there in our mind. That sinful tendencies has to be completely dissolved from our mind. It should be rooted off from our mind, and only bhakti can do that. Bhakti and jnana can remove that sinful tendencies in our mind to an extent. But when we devote completely towards Bhagavan, that is one pointed devotion towards Bhagavan, then it will root off that sinful tendencies from our mind so that no more he will do any papa karmas. He will concentrate only on the bhakti towards Bhagavan. And Shuka Brahmarishi illustrates this point by telling the story of Ajamila. Ajamila was a very pious Brahmana. He lived in the city of Kanyakubja, and he was a very pious Brahmana coming from a very good Brahmana family. And in his house itself, everyone performs yajna and all the Vedic rites. Ajamila was a well-learned Brahmana, very soft, very kind-hearted, pure-hearted, always too much attached towards Bhagavan. And every day his fathers will send him to the forest to collect summit and the kusha grass to perform the yajnas. Every day it is going on in their house. So every day he will go to the forest and collect all this. Like this, one day he went to the forest. While he was returning from the forest, he saw a woman, not that of very good character, and she was in a completely inebriated state, and she was talking to a man, and she was very beautiful. And Ajamila was overpowered by her beauty. And with all that samit and kushagras, everything on his head, he was so much attracted to her. But anyway, he went home. But while doing all the household works and all the pujas and all, he was constantly thinking of this woman. Again, the next day he came and he met her. Like that, they became, their relationship evolved into very deep attraction. To please this woman, he used to give so much of money to her, and whatever she wants, he will somehow, how he will buy and give her. Like this, he spent all his money, his father's property, everything he finished only to please this woman. And he was so overpowered by her beauty and behavior and all that. So this relationship developed, and Ajamila married that woman. And Ajamila already has another wife. She was a very devoted, pious woman, but still, in spite of that, he married this woman, and he stopped going to his house and stayed with that woman itself, and he stayed in the forest itself. When all his father's property was over, he began to do unlawful acts. That is like stealing, robbery, telling lies, and taking all that food she used to take. He also used to drink because she will drink. So, like that, his entire nature changed in spite of his so much of bhakti, jnana, everything. In the company of this woman, his entire nature changed, and he stayed in this with this woman in the forest itself. And he had many children. By time he had many children, he had 10 sons, and his youngest son was so dear to him, and he named that son as Narayana. He always used to fondle that son and keep him on his lap and talk to him. He was so much attached to that youngest son. So life went on like this. He involved in all that unlawful acts, and somehow the life went on like this, and he became 88 years old. He spent the majority of this lifetime with this woman, and he became 88 years old. Now he is very old, not able to do any work, always bedridden, and the time came for him to leave this body. At that time, he saw four emissaries of Yamadharmaraja, that is the Yamadutas. He saw them, they had that cruel face, dark in complexion, and they had a rope in their hand, and they just to put that rope along around his neck so that they can pull off that jiva from this body of Achamila. When they were about to pull that jiva out of the body of Achamila, Ajamila shouted, calling his youngest son, Narayana, please come. He shouted like this. Out of love for his youngest son, he shouted, Narayana, please come. And immediately he could see the Vishnu Dudas in front of him. They were just dressed like Bhagavan Vishnu in that yellow robe. They had beautiful face, that lotus eyes, everything. And they were standing before him, and they released Ajamila from the emissaries of Yamadharmaraja, and they just released his jiva, pulling off that, releasing that rope around him. And the Yamadharmaraja Dudas, they asked them, what are you doing? This is the Shasana of Yamadharmaraja. K.U.M. Pradishedharo Dharmarajasya Shasanam. Who are you to obstruct the command of Dharmaraja? Who are you? And you are mere celestials. And Dharmaraja is the person who he is the epitome of justice and Dharma. Who are you to obstruct us? You are obstructing us from doing our action, from doing our duty. Where did you come from, and who are you all? And the Vishnu Dudas asked the Yamadharmaraja Dudas that, if you are the emissaries of Yamadharmaraja, you must explain to us what action you are doing. Why are you inflicting punishment for him? On what basis are you giving this punishment? Do you know that he is liable for this punishment? So for everyone, you give the same punishment regardless of his action. What are you doing? Like this, the Vishnu Dudas asked the Yamadharmaraja Dudas. And the Dudas, that is the emissaries of the Yamadharmaraja, they said, Veda pranihito dharmo hyadharmastadviparyayah Vedo Narayana Sakshat Swayambhuridi Sushruma. Dharma is ordained in the Vedas. Adharma is rejected by the Vedas. And Srimad Narayana is the Veda. He is the Veda itself. The Veda is the breath of Srimad Narayana. And we are following the Vedas only. In that way, we are following Srimad Narayana. Yena swadamyami bhava rajasatvatamo mayaha gunanama kriyarubhair vibhavyante yatatatam. Narayana created all these beings. All these beings, all these different forms and everything were created by Srimad Narayana. And he brought all these forms and gunas, everything from the basic three gunas, that is the sattva, rajas, and tamas. and they were differentiated by the different forms and different actions. So everything is created by Srimad Narayana. Suryognikam marudgabaham Soma sandhya dhano dishaham Kam kukalo dharma iti Hyete daihasya sakshinaha. So Surya, that is the sun, Agni, fire, Kam, the Akasha, the Soma, moon, Sakshat, everything, all these, that is the water, the quarters, the night time, the daytime, the Sandhya time, the earth, everything is the witness of for a man's action. So whatever we do, everything, all our surrounding is a witness for it. So you cannot escape from the actions. So a man, if a person perform any action, then that will be definitely something good deed as well as the bad deed combined in it. So an evil person has to undergo the punishment given by the Yamadharmaraja, and a person can perform the action. He cannot abstain from doing any action. Whatever action he does, then the both this will be combined. To get detached from this action, he has to get detached from the fruits of the action. Only that he can do, but he cannot be without performing any action. That is the norm of this earth. So a person's present birth, it reveals his past action and how his future birth will be. So his present action decides everything. And the Yamadharmaraja Dudas, they said, मनसैव पुरे देवः पूर्वरूपं विपश्यति अनुमीमांसते पूर्वं मनसा बहवानजः. Yamadharmaraja, he has a very powerful mind. With that powerful mind, he can read his past action and also can understand how his future birth will be. He can understand the history of that being, and according that to that only he will send us, and we have to take them back to them and we have to drag them back to him. So that's what we are doing. Panchabikurudhe swartan panchavedata panchabihi Yegastu shodashe netrin swayam saptadashonute. So there are 16 adjuncts, and these 16 adjuncts are the 5 jnanendriyas, the 5 karmendriyas, and the 5 pranas plus the mind. This is the 16 adjuncts. And with this 16 adjuncts joins the jiva as the 17th one. So the jiva, it is the 17th one, and it has 16 adjuncts. And these 16 adjuncts are entirely different from this jiva. The jiva is the reflection of the supreme consciousness, that is the Bhagavan, reflection of Bhagavan, and it is different from the other 16 adjuncts, but all these are together. Tadetat shodashakalam lingam kshatriyam mahat dattenu samsrudim bumsi harsha shoka bhayatridham. The jiva, it experiences the jnanendriyas and the karmendriyas through the mind. So the mind acts as a bridge to connect the jiva as well as the jnanendriyas and the karmendriyas. And because of this connection, the jiva experiences dukkha, sukha, krodha, everything, all that emotion the jiva experiences because it is connected through the mind with the jnanendriyas and the karmendriyas. And even though the jiva do not want to experience all this, it do not want to perform any action. Because of this connection, there is no other go. It has to experience all this. The jiva is forced to do karma because of this connection. Nahi kaschikshanamabhi jadu tishtatya karma krita karyate hyavashak karma Gunai Swabhava Vikairbalat. No one can remain without performing any karma because of this, not even for a second. Every jiva is compelled to do any karma, and they are compelled by their natural instincts like desire, karma, anger, krodha, greed, etc. And actually, this kama, krodha, greed, and the jnanendriyas, karmendriyas, they are all the evolutes of Prakriti. They are the Prakriti and evolutes of Prakriti. And because of that Prakriti, the jiva is compelled to do the work. Labdva nimittamavyaktam vyaktavyaktam bhavatyutam yatha yoni yatha bijam swabhavena baliyasam. According to the tendencies of the past action, one gets the gross body as well as the subtle body, and the subtle body is the main cause. Because of that only one develops this gross body, and thus the jiva is embodied in the form of a man or a woman, that is according to his karmas. Yesha prakriti sangena purushasya viparyayah asin sa yeva nachirad yesha sangat viliyate. So the transformation of the jiva from its original state, that is, jiva is the reflection of the supreme consciousness or reflection of Brahman or reflection of Atma or reflection of Bhagavan. You can say it in any way. It is the chitta bhasa. So the original state of the jiva, it is transformed one and only because of its connection with this Prakriti. So when this connection is detached, the jiva returns to its original state. So in only because of this association with the nature Prakriti, it is performing this action, and definitely this jiva will come out of that bondage by complete devotion towards Bhagavan. Like this, the Yamadharma Raja Dudas, they tell to Vishnu Dudas. Now the Vishnu Dudas, that is the emissaries of Vishnu, they listened to all this and they said that a judge must have the right knowledge and the right judgment. If he inflict punishment on an innocent person or an undeserving person, then he will be punished for it. This person, that is this Ajamila, he might have done many sins. But at that last moment, knowingly or unknowingly, he called the Nama of Bhagavan Narayana. Yete naivashya gonosya krutam swadhaga nishkrutam yada narayaneti jagada chaturaksharam. So this four akshara of Bhagavan, that is Narayana, it dispels all sins. Even though he has performed many sinful actions throughout his lifetime, the chanting of this Bhagavat Nama, or he called Bhagavan at the last moment. He called his son by that name, but anyway, he uttered the Bhagavat Nama. So that dispelled all his sin, and now he is not qualified to be dragged towards the purgatory. You cannot drag him like that because he has purified himself by telling this Bhagavat Nama, and all his sinful tendencies are also removed because he said this Bhagavat Nama. So you might have done sins, but knowingly or unknowingly, he called the Bhagavat Nama. So you cannot drag him to the purgatories or the Naraka. So that is the power of this Bhagavat Nama, said the Vishnu Dutas. So a man uttering Harinama, Narayana Nama, consciously or unconsciously, he does not deserve the purgatories. And they gave the example that even though a man do not have the knowledge of a medicine, but he can, if he take that medicine, his disease will be cured. Many of the Ayurvedic medicines, they are a complex of many herbs and many things. But only the doctor knows about it. Sometimes even the doctors do not know. The company what produces it, they know. But when they prescribe that medicine to the patients, even though the patients are not aware of it at all, what is it, but if they consume it, then they will be freed from their disease. So just like that, even though he has uttered this nama of Bhagavan without knowing or in ignorance, he called his son only, but still, since he uttered this Bhagavat nama, he is not fit for the purgatories. You cannot drag him like that. And telling this, the Vishnu Dudas disappeared from the vision, and the Yamadudas also disappeared from the vision. And Ajamila began to realize that he has done so many sins, and he repented for it, and he wanted to purify his mind. So immediately he got up from his deathbed and he worshipped Bhagavan. He regained strength and he just went off to Haridwara. There he performed tapas, many austerities, and by complete devotion towards Bhagavan, he was able to realize that he is the Atma, and he completely controlled his mind, his senses, everything, and he merged his Atma with the universal consciousness. And he reached the Vishnu Loka. There he saw his four emissaries who helped him to repent for his mistake and purify his mind. And he attained liberation. So that's the story of Ajamila. Now, Ajamila got liberation, and the Vishnu Dudas also went back to their Vishnu Loka. Now, these Yamadudas, they went to Yamadharmaraja and said that when we went to do our duty, four celestial beings, they were exactly like Bhagavan Vishnu. They obstructed us and they obstructed us from doing our duty. So, is it right what they said? Like this, the Yamadharmaraja Dudas, that is the emissaries of the Yamadharmaraja, asked the Yamadharmaraja itself. And Yamadharmaraja said that from Narayana is born Brahma, who is the creator, Vishnu, who is the sustainer, and also that Bhagavan Rudra, who destroys everything in the end. And he said that only few beings in this creation are dominated by Sattva. One is myself, Indra, Surya, Brahma, Vayu, Agni, Varuna, and many rishis. In them, the Sattva guna is dominating. But still, even though we have dominant Sattva guna, we are not able to understand Sriman Narayana. He is beyond our perception. Yam vaina ghobir manasa subhirva hrudaghira vasu bruto vichakshate आत्मानमन्तर्हृदि सन्तमात्मनां चक्षुर्यथैव हृदयस्ततः परम्. Not the organs of action, not the mind, the prana, or not the chitta, the words, by that he can be comprehended. He cannot be comprehended by any of this. He resides in all and he is the witness of all. He is distinct from all these faculties and objects, but no one can understand him. And the emissaries of the Vishnu, Bhagavan Vishnu, whenever their bhaktas, they call the Bhagavat Nama, they immediately go there and rescue them. So when a Bhagavan's Nama is chanted in a place, you cannot go and perform your action. You can only drag those jivas who do not chant the Bhagavat Nama. And the Bhagavad Dharma is understood not by all. So there is nothing wrong that you do not understand it. The Bhagavad Dharma, which is pure and excellent, is not understood by all. Only 12 persons in this creation can understand the Bhagavad Dharma. They are Lord Brahma, Sage Narada, Parameshwara, Sanat Kumara, Kapila Bhagavan, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlada, Janaka Maharaj, Bhishmacharya, Mahabali, Sri Shukra Brahma Rishi, and myself. Like this, Yamadharmaraja said. So the Bhagavata Dharma is understood only by these few people. So there is nothing wrong that you didn't understand it. The highest duty of man is to completely devote his life to Bhagavan. So for that purpose only a jiva is born, and he has to worship Bhagavan, understand the sukshma of him. So for that only he is born, but leaving all that, he performs all the actions, and that's why all these complications are coming. And chanting the Narayana Nama will destroy the sins as well as the sinful tendencies. So when a Bhagavad Nama is chanted in a place, then we cannot drag those jivas, because that will develop into parabhakti and they will attain liberation. So we cannot hold them. Like this, the Yamadharmaraja said to his emissaries. So a person, when he chants the Bhagavat Nama, that is the Narayana Nama, then he attains liberation. So we cannot control them. And a person begins with doing the Vedic rites. Gradually it improves to japa, and in the end he develops into prema bhakti or para bhakti. So the great bhaktas are not included in our collective punishment. So whenever a person chants the Bhagavan's nama in the end, so you cannot drag them off. So just liberate them. Like this, Yamadharmaraja said to his dutas, that is emissaries. Now, Shukha Brahma Rishi says that Tasmat, therefore, Tasmat Sankirtanam Vishnuho Jagan Mangalam Amhasam Mahatam Abhi Kaurabhyam Vidvaikantika Nishkrutim. The Nama of Narayana, when we stand it with devotion and faith, it expiates the sins and gives mangala, that is all the auspiciousness to that person. It is the ultimate abode of man. So this is the story of Ajamila. Ajamila attained liberation by chanting Bhagavan's Nama. By reading this story or by hearing this story, one must not take the Narayana Nama so easily. So we can chant that Nama only at the end of the life. It is not like that. Only when we practice that throughout our lifetime, we will be able to remember Bhagavan in the end of our lifetime. Bhagavad Gita also says that whatever thought is occupied by a person at the end of his lifetime, that he will attain. If we chant the Bhagavan's Nama, then we will attain Bhagavan. Or any other worries or that, we will reach that consequence. We have to experience the consequence of it. So it is not easy to remember Bhagavan at the end of our life unless we have practiced it throughout our lifetime. So that is very important. One must not take the chanting of Bhagavan's Nama so easily by understanding this story. So that is the liberation of Ajamila. And actually this story was originally said by sage Agastya Rishi. So Shukha Brahma Rishi explains this once again to Parikshit Maharaja. I will continue with the next chapter in my next upload. Om Namo Narayana Kila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. Om Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.